is up, my real estate friends? Joshua Smith here with today's Top Agent Interview, where I bring you strategies, systems, lead generation, tips, and more from top realtors and entrepreneurs that exist on the planet today. So really quick before we jump in today's interview, if you're listening to this on YouTube, iTunes, or Stitcher, if you have not already done so, please go to www.joshuasmithgsd.com. On the site, you can register to have all these interviews automatically emailed to you every single week, along with some other cool stuff that we send out. Also from the site, you can connect with me directly on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel, all that fun stuff. So, all right, y'all, let's dive on in. So I hope that you're stoked for today's interview. I know I am. Today we have an absolute maniac on the show. This guy is a guy that really started from nothing, got into the real estate business, outworked everybody, became the number one REMAX real estate agent on the planet. He's made over $20 million in real estate commissions alone. During that time, he was stocking away money, saving money to go out there and invest back into real estate, started buying apartment complexes, and today he owns a huge apartment complex portfolio worth millions. So today we're going to hear all about his journey, how he got started, how he dominates, and much more. So I'm excited and honored to have on our guest today, Terry Paranych. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Josh. Real honor to be on, man. That's really cool. I love what you're doing. And, Josh, it's one of the main reasons when you first reached out for me to be on the show, what impressed me the most about what you're doing is how much you're giving back. I mean, I think you and I, we come from similar backgrounds, similar worlds, man. And it's all about, the different journeys that we travel and our learned experiences in those journeys, and then our ability to give back to all the different people that have helped us along the way. So it's a real honor to be on.
Yeah, man, and I appreciate those kind words, and I'm absolutely stoked. And let's kind of talk about your journey before you got into really what you're doing today. And I know today you operate multiple businesses. You have a large real estate company, new build and resell, large real estate portfolio, among other things. But let's kind of talk about your journey, before all of this. What you did before you got into real estate, and what led you into this path.
Well, Joshua, I had in my teens, I had aspirations of maybe playing professional hockey, and suffered a pretty horrific injury. I shattered my wrist in a bad car accident, and at that point I kind of realized it's time to start looking at building a career. And of course, when I went to high school, Josh, everybody would say to me, Terry, you're such a dreamer, because I always told them I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And a funny thing happened, I became a millionaire at 28. But what happened to me, Josh, I went to high school, and, most of my friends were conditioned in the area that I grew up, a very blue-collar area, conditioned by their parents to go out, get a trade, get a job, go work in one of the meat packing plants. That's kind of where I grew up, in a meat packing district here in Edmonton, in northeast Edmonton. And you know what? I just saw more of life. And, I would read a lot of books at that particular time. And I think more than anything, there were a lot of how to get rich books. But one particular book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, really, struck a chord with me at that particular time, that I could, if I could, believe, I could conceive, I could achieve. I just really felt that I could do more with my life. And so early in my career, Josh, I had a real penchant and a passion for sporting goods. So when I graduated high school, I got into the retail sporting goods business and became a top salesperson at a chain of retail stores. I then became an assistant manager and realized, man, I could work my way up in this company and eventually make 50, 60 grand. And I thought to myself, man, I want to make 50, 60 grand a week. And so at that particular time, I realized this isn't the path that I want to take. So a guy that who's still a great friend of mine today by the name of David Baines, he had come in to buy a pair of training shoes. And Joshua, I know you're a guy that has lost 118 pounds in this amazing journey, so you know all about what it takes to get up early and run. Well, he's a guy that was overweight, and he came in, and our specialty in one of the sporting goods stores was training shoes. And so, I set out at that time to be the best of the best and knowing everything about training shoes. So he came in, and I measured his foot strike, and I spent about 2.5 hours with him, getting him the right pair of shoes. And he says, you know, Terry, you got a ton of passion. You're a great guy. You're a great salesperson. He says, what kind of money are you making here? And I, you know, at the time, I think I was making about $1,200 a month, and I was kind of, you know, almost embarrassed to tell him. And he said, you know, I'm a sales manager at the local Chev Olds dealership by the name of Stettelbauer Chevrolet Oldsmobile. Why don't you come and you know, check it out? And the truth is, I really didn't know a whole lot about cars. And he said, you don't need to know anything about cars, Terry. Come on in with your energy, your passion. You'll do just fine. To make a long story short, Josh, I went over there, and he hired me on the spot, and all of a sudden, you know, within 24 hours, I was selling Chevrolet Oldsmobiles, and within 12 months, was a top salesperson, rookie of the year, as well as a top salesperson, and the number 2 salesperson in all of Edmonton in Chevrolet Oldsmobile sales. So, you know, at that point, I started to realize that if I really put my mind to something, you know, I could really achieve it. So I did that gig for a little while, and then I would see some guys coming into our car dealership that were car wholesalers. So they were the guys, Joshua, that were selling the used cars to the dealer. And, you know, these guys, you know, they had at that particular time the fur coats, and they were driving the Corvettes and the IROCs, you know, go all the way back to the 80s, you know, the Camaro IROCs. And, you know, I thought that would be pretty cool to try. So, you know, I went out and started wholesaling cars, and that took me into owning some used car lots. I had 3 of them in my early 20s, and what we call them, I'm sure you see them a lot in not so much Scottsdale, but some of maybe the other areas of Arizona, the little pot lots that you see in the corner. And it was a great education. But during that time, Joshua, I started to read a lot of books on creating wealth, and they all talked about the best ways to create wealth was by investing in real estate. So, you know, short of my 21st birthday, I had bought, and this was prior yet to actually getting into my own car lots, I bought a property with a buddy of mine, and we put little or no money down, and we fixed it up, and we flipped it, and the journey started. So in my initial journey, when I was, I guess you could say, a raging or rabid young entrepreneur in my early 20s with my car lots, I started to buy real estate. And then I realized, Joshua, that my dream of maybe owning a car dealership one day was going to be pretty tough at that particular time, because most of the time it was kind of a generational business, a second, third generation business to get, let's say, a Chevy store or a Ford store or a Chrysler store. So I thought, you know what, this real estate thing has been a passion of mine, and I'm going to get into it. And, you know, sure enough, my mid-20s, I went and, you know, took the licensing course, and it took me 3 times to get licensed. I think I'm a little dyslexic, or I just can't sit still, one of the two. And the pass mark was 70, and I think the third time I was lucky. I think I maybe got 69, and they felt sorry for me, and they gave me the 70, but I got licensed to trade in real estate in October of 91, and away it went.
Yeah, no, I love that. And one thing that I love that you said when you were selling shoes, you were like, okay, I'm going to be the best of the best, you know, at selling these shoes. And you know, one thing that I see in common from entrepreneurs that are at the top of their game in any field, you know, they really, really focus on mastery. You know, and I know today too, you also have some boot camps, you do a lot of coaching and training a lot of real estate agents. You know, what do you feel that the importance is of mastery and absolutely mastering your craft, and you know, what kind of advice do you have for our listeners there on what level they need to take that mastery to?
You know, Joshua, I met a guy many years ago, and I think you know him very well, Anthony Robbins, and just flukily I met him, and you know, of course, I read his book Unlimited Power about 1,000 times, and you know, I realized that in order to be the best at something, I had to seek out the best people, and I had to find these people that I could model and mirror and learn from. And when I got into the real estate business, the funny thing happened, Joshua. You know, I got licensed by a more traditional company here that I went in, and the manager of this particular brokerage, he had played in the National Hockey League many years ago. So I thought, this might be a good fit. I interviewed with him. He was a good guy. And, you know, it was a traditional office up in the east end of town where I grew up, where, you know, I A lot of people knew who I was through some athletics, and I thought, man, this is a good fit for me. Well, I knew that after, reading some books on how to set myself apart from the competition, I wanted to get in front of my manager and give him a great vision. And, I said, one of the ways I want to set myself apart from the competition is that I want to dress up in a Superman suit and call myself Terry Superman Paranych, and I want to get up on roofs of the building with our company sign with sold stickers on it. I want people to know that I'm in real estate. And he said to me, Josh, he said, Terry, come with me. He says, come to the back room and you'll see all these traditional company flyers that we have. You can pick any one that you want and you can put your picture in it and your name on it, and we'll even print them for you. And I said, yeah, but that means I'm going to be just like everybody else. And he says, well, what are you trying to accomplish here? Are you trying to piss everybody off? And I says, well, geez, recently I said, Ivan, all the books that I've read, his name was Ivan Andrews. I said, all the books that I've read, they say that I have to set myself apart from the competition. And I read some books at the time, J. Conrad Levinson, Guerrilla Marketing, and it talked about, being a guerrilla, getting out there. I studied a lot of direct mail at that time. And all I wanted to do at that time, Joshua, was just blanket the area that I grew up in, of 50,000 people, send them a flyer every 21 days, and let people know that I'm in real estate. So I was really kind of discouraged at that particular second, thinking, geez, here I'm this young guy in my early 20s, rabidly passionate. I'm educating myself, wanting to be the best. And he said to me, basically, we want you to be like everybody else. So literally, I lasted 2 days, and I went over to a REMAX brokerage, and the owner and the manager had said to me at that particular time, Terry, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. We love your ideas. We're going to support you. Go out and do it. So I did. First year in real estate, I sold 66 homes, and I was the rookie of the year in the Edmonton Real Estate Board of about 2,300 people. But that was just the beginning of my story and my first challenge in real estate.
Yeah, I love it, and I always tell real estate agents, hey, if you do one thing that'll pretty much guarantee a success, just do the opposite of what everybody else is doing, And so I love the standing out and the uniqueness and really getting that attention. So yeah, let's talk about that, man. So you had your first year, you crushed it, you did 66 deals, which is, I think your average real estate agent is doing about 6 deals a year. So first year in the business, mid-20s, doing 10 times the amount of business most real estate agents do, which is really unheard of. And can let's talk from there, because I know today you have this large team. You've grown this machine that you've able to become a true CEO, really step out of it. At what point did you start growing that team? And what was your first hire? How did that look like? What were maybe some of the aha successes? Maybe some of the failures that you had when growing a team that if you could go back and do it differently, you would have maybe followed a different model or whatever. Because we have a lot of listeners on the show that are maybe in that boat, that are real estate agents or mortgage brokers that are kind of at their max capacity, and maybe getting ready to start that team.
Well, first off, you know what? Don't hesitate. Just do it. Actually, Joshua, my first year in the business, my first day at REMAX, I actually had a buddy of mine listed a condo with me, and I still think Kendall to this day. He listed this condo, and the next day we got an unconditional offer, and we got an offer from a real old Owlie veteran from the other side of town, and I had to deal with him. But there was this excitement. I was jacked. I got it sold, and it was a cash offer. So I came into the office the second or third day that I was actually licensed at REMAX, and I walked into the conveyancer's office, and I said, I had the offer to purchase, and I handed it to her, and I said, here you go, and put it on her desk, and a few of the girls just kind of laughed at me, and I walked back to my little 10 by 12 office at that particular time, and she comes back and puts it on my desk and says, hey, Terry, you got to fill out a trade record sheet, and you got to do this checklist, and you got to do all these other things. And I said, well, I don't have time to do that. Aren't you guys supposed to do that? Isn't that what I'm paying for? I got to get out there, because that particular time I was going to pound on some FSBO doors and some expired doors that I just pulled up. She said, no, you have to do it. So to make a long story short, there happened to be a girl in the office that was leaving a husband and wife team because she couldn't get along with him, and she saw my frustration. came to me, and she was kind of a like-minded gal. Her name was Sharon Lacey, and I hired her on the spot, Joshua. So what I did at that particular time is I focused all of my time on lead generation and being belly-to-belly with a prospective customer. And that was either expires, FSBOs, or going in appointments from the marketing that I was about to create with the Terry Paranich's lead generation campaign. Sharon's job was to coordinate the FSBO and expired appointments and to do my trade record sheets. She worked for me from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then she had a job as an assistant manager of a car dealership that she started at 4 o'clock. So to make a long story short, I had an assistant on the outgo. She was an unlicensed assistant. But what happened then, Joshua, my second year in the business, I jumped to about 140 transactions. I was single, working 24/7, 7 days a week, and at one point, not having enough time to even work on my marketing, falling asleep at my desk, working till 2, 3 in the morning, and there was a young fella that had gotten licensed, and I actually knew him from the gym. He'd worked with Caldwell Banker for 9 months, did 2 deals. As a matter of fact, he did 2 deals, and both deals were the buddies of his. So I looked at it, young guy, kind of like-minded, ex-hockey player, and his name was Todd Burke. And I said, Todd, what would you think about the possibility of maybe coming to work with me? And started him off as a buyer specialist. And at that time, all of my team members now are very unilateral. They work in our guaranteed sale department. They do listings. They work with buyers. But at that time, in the mid-90s, or actually, maybe I hired Todd, 93. So not quite the mid-90s. He was a buyer specialist. And I'd say that one of the biggest lessons I learned at that particular time, and for all of you team leaders or about to be team leaders that are out there that are still holding on to your business thinking, geez, I better take this lead because I can do it better. The biggest thing that I learned is no matter what happened with Todd, I continued to give him buyer leads. He would fall, I would be there to help him get up, because here's what ended up happening. This is the guy that went on to do 10 to 15 transactions a month with me and stayed with me for 16 years, Joshua, 16 years.
Wow.
So anybody that's looking to build a team, what I see one of the biggest failures in potential team leaders is they're still working too much in the business versus working on it. If you're going to build a team, your job is to empower and coach that team to go out and do business. You are the curator of the brand. You are the curator of the lead generation system. Their role is to go out and sell real estate under your brand.
So, let's talk about, maybe there's a real estate agent out there that has an assistant. They have an assistant helping them out. At what point, is there a point that you can kind of dial it in, or what would that point be of bringing on that buyer specialist? Because I talk to a lot of teams that want to grow a team just because out of want, maybe not out of necessity. So I see a lot of people maybe doing it too early, but then also a lot of people that are doing it too late, where then they just get to a point where they're just pissing away all these leads and not capturing the business. Is that threshold? I know you mentioned you were about 120 deals before you added yours. What would you recommend on that?
Joshua, I just recently had a boot camp in November 2014, and there was a fellow that came, and he was working in Victoria, British Columbia, and working all by himself. His wife helping him 3 or 4 hours as an unlicensed assistant, and he was doing about 80 transactions a year. And, great guy, a lot of drive, very compelling personality, quite organized. But he said, you know what, Terry, I'm starting to really hate the real estate business. I'd like to take a Friday night, a Saturday, and a Sunday off. Simple solution, hire somebody to help you. Hire a licensed realtor to help you. And you know what? Start with one step at a time. So my feeling, Joshua, is actually, somewhere in that 60, 70 to 80 transaction range, because it's my belief that if you hire a team member when you're in that transaction range, you're going to go from 60, 70, 80 to well over 100. And you're going to get some of your life back. And I mean, Joshua, how often do you see real estate agents now? And I see them all the time, that they're now in their late 50s, early 60s. They're tired. They're struggling. the life has kind of gotten sucked out of them because they've now listen, guys, I'm not saying working alone is a bad thing. To each their own. But at the end of the day, you know what? It's about living your life and living your life with some passion. And real estate can actually suck the life out of you. I mean, we're doing everything for people. So I think somewhere in that category, if the question specifically is, when should you hire a licensed team member that's going to trade under your brand? I would say once you get to the point where you're doing that 50, 60, 70, whatever transactions, you've been working hard, that's the point to take the next step.
Yeah, and you built this amazing epic business that truly does give to you and supports your lifestyle. And I know it wasn't always that way. You talked about how you had to work 24/7, and really entrepreneurship is just that, right? You sacrifice a certain chunk of your life. You live like nobody else for a certain chunk, so then you can live the rest of your life like nobody else. So when you became that true CEO of your organization, meaning that you're no longer working in the business, not working with sellers, buyers, you're just working on the business. What was that transition like for you? And at what point did you decide, okay, this is where I'm at? And how was that transition? And again, what would you recommend to our listeners? If they're at this point, this is where they really need to, start honing in on and focusing on.
Well, Joshua, I really started to crank up, the volume in, let's say, 1997, 1998, where I started to do, at that particular time, well over 500 transactions. And then it translated, from about 97, 98 up to about 206, 207. I was doing in that 700 to 800 transaction range every year. But I'd say in about 1997, I was now up to a team of about 10 people. And I virtually spent almost all of my time working on the business, and at that time, working on our acquisition business, our investment business. So, as an example, October, November of the prior to the upcoming year, I would buy all of our marketing. Like, for instance, I would send out over 2 million flyers per year. I would actually buy paper from the paper mill, have it shipped to the printer here because I could save money. I would negotiate all of my media buys in the prior year from, radio, television, outdoor, direct mail, newsprint at the particular time. And of course, so much now is, relying on the internet, but going back, that's what I spent my time on. And more importantly, I would spend my time on small daily elevator speeches with my clients. And this is an interesting thing that I'm going to say that may raise some eyebrows. People often say, well, Terry, your team members are great. They're awesome. They're so great to work with. You must spend a ton of time training them. The truth is, Joshua, I would spend a little bit of quality time with them on a daily basis. That might be 5 minutes in my office with me standing like I'm standing right now, talking to them, working with them, empowering them, training them. But it might only been 5, 7, 10 minutes. That's it. I was a guy that actually never really liked doing group meetings because in group meetings, there's always somebody, that would tend to maybe have an agenda, want to be distracting, even though they didn't really mean to. And I found that group meetings, I didn't get a ton accomplished. So I did a lot of, let's say, one-on-one, what I call elevator coaching with each individual on my team. And I created a special bonded relationship with each team member. And I don't know, Josh, it was just kind of how it worked for me. And I'm just, just being completely transparent and telling the truth that I had the ability to create these special relationships with each individual, and I got to really know them very well and develop such a great rapport and trust with them that, they would jump in front of a bus for me. So it worked out very well.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And it's almost like with our kids, and then our teams become like our second family. And it's, you can have all your kids together, all your family together doing family time. But the real amazing bonding is when you spend one-on-one time with each of them separately. So I really like that. You mentioned millions of mailers that you were doing on an annual basis, and you also talked about your initial marketing, with the Superman outfits, standing out, being different. And I think I saw on Facebook this last year that you had just mailed out something like 250,000, direct mail, list your house pieces. Let's talk about marketing because it's still in today's market right now, 2015. I mean, you're still out there selling, 400 or 500 homes on an annual basis. So, what are you guys doing today that's working? What type of marketing are you doing? What types of call to action, you guys doing that are getting results?
Well, Joshua, I'll break it down. I mean, I went from spending, $750,000 a year, $750,000 a year on marketing to where I've now got it dialed in around 400K. I'm currently, Joshua, still sending 238,000 what I call rapid response flyers 10 times a year, to my selected farm area. I'm spending in the neighborhood of about $45,000 a year on what are called super boards. So those are basically billboards the size of a football field. Where I've cut things back, Joshua, in the last 3 years, I have not spent a nickel on newsprint, where prior to that, I was spending just over $100K a year on newsprint. I've created my own digital magazine, which everybody can check out, called homesinedmonton.com. That's HOMESEDMONTON.com, homesinedmonton.com. So you see, Joshua, a lot of the time newsprint, it used to generate some buyer leads, but, when I used to do newsprint, it was very specific. I would have the center pullout of Edmonton's largest red real estate publication. So when we went into a listing appointment, we'd cover the whole table, of course, with our listing presentation and all of our benefits that we offer. Because again, when I talk about setting yourself apart from the competition, most real estate agents will walk into a listing presentation naked. They walk in with an evaluation. They look around the house. I mean, some agents are still asking the customer to help them measure the house. Preposterous stuff. I would walk in, cover their entire table, show them all of the reasons that they need to choose my team and I to get them the most amount of money. Part of that was newsprint. And now, Joshua, we use iPads and we show them how homesinedmonton.com is exclusive to the Terry Paranych team. When they list with us, their home is going to be featured in homesinedmonton.com to millions of people. So I replaced newsprint with a digital magazine that basically costs me pennies a day, and it's also become an ancillary lead generation tool where we're getting people that log in. We're building a list because there's a lot of consumer-driven information. We talk about, how to decorate your turkey, how to, shovel snow, all kinds of that, warm and fuzzy stuff. But at the end of the day, it's also a full-blown digital magazine with all of our listings and then, of course, all of our systems and benefits that we offer. So that we implemented 8 months ago, and that has gone very, very well. Joshua, marketing in real estate is simply this. You need to simply become the brand of choice in your market, which, of course, you've done an amazing job at. But I often tell people when they would come to any of my one-day real estate training camps or my boot camps is that this: if you live in an area and it's 10,000 homes, go dominate the 10,000. If you live in an area where you want to work and it's 5,000, dominate the 5,000. If it's only 500, dominate the 500. But pick an area and absolutely own it. You need to be very specific. You need to be very clear. Don't go all over the place. In other words, see, the word guerrilla in guerrilla marketing can mean throwing a whole bunch of shit against the wall and hoping some of it sticks. I tested that method, and unfortunately, yeah, some of it sticks, some of it doesn't, but what happens, you throw a lot of money away in the process. So you're better off, pick an area, I don't care if it's 500 homes or when I first started, 50,000 homes, and absolutely dominate it. Become the brand of choice in that area, and trust me, this will pay you for the rest of your life. And then your real estate business becomes very duplicatable, where you can bring in team members because now you are the predictable brand. And guess what? The team members come to you.
Yeah, no, I mean they're begging to work for you at the point because you've got that market share, you've dominated. So yeah, I love that. And speaking of that, so when you're doing this newsletter, you're doing your mailers. It sounds like and from observation that you're really targeting home sellers. It's a lot of people talking this. The name of real estate, the name of the game is in the listing side. So, number one, is it targeting just sellers? Do you have a mix with it? And then also, what types of messages or guarantees or call to actions. Because we can all send out mailers. We all get a ton of mailers in our mail today, and you can send out something that gets zero response, or you can send out something with the right call to action that's effective that gets the phone to ring. So there any type of special messages? Who are you targeting? Maybe what are some of those sample call to actions that you're utilizing that are getting making those phones ring?
Well, there's three specific headlines that I've used over the years. Sell your home faster for more money with Terry Paranich's guaranteed home selling system. When you list with Terry, you receive these guarantees, and then there's 5 specific benefits or guarantees that I offer. Sell your home fast and for top dollar with Terry Paranich's guaranteed home selling system. When you list with Terry, you receive these guarantees. Same 5 compelling guarantees. And what I've been using the last couple of years, your home sold in 30 days or I'll buy it. And that's also been another very, very compelling headline, Joshua. You see, targeting sellers or buyers. Now with the emergence of the internet, you have a lot of websites out there that are very driven to generate a lot of buyer inquiry, a lot of buyer business, and you want to capture it. And, sometimes you end up so busy following up what I call our not now leads that aren't ready to take any action yet. You have no time to make a living. So there has to be a fine balance. So our website, Joshua, as a matter of fact, my number one website, Paranich.com, is undergoing a huge reconstruction right now to marry it to be a little more user-friendly for the potential buyer, because my entire process of my marketing and branding for the last 23 years has been getting the now business, Joshua. People that want to take action now, people that want to list their house now, and that's worked very well. Now we start to hear about, organic farming on the internet, creating relationships for 4, 6, 8 months. As you can tell, I'm not a very patient guy. Okay, I like to take action now and see things happen now. So there's been a bit of a little bit of a reinvent and a little bit of a rebirth in some of the ways we're doing things. But at the end of the day, like you said earlier, Josh, I'm very happy right now doing 450 transactions. I really don't work in the real estate. Well, I don't work in the real estate business at all. It's one of my 5 divisions, and I've got a small. I had a team at one point of 25 people. Now I have an all-star team, anywhere between 8 and 10 people all the time. An average time level on my team for 14 years. So it's a nice, solid, profitable business, and it can run without me, which is even better. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. In your marketing, you must be compelling. You must be different. You must set yourself apart. Setting yourself apart is doing what others aren't prepared to do, such as perhaps offering guarantees in your marketing and your branding that others aren't prepared to do. And then, of course, there's all, the challenges that I had over the years is facing the consequences of all the real estate boards and the real estate police and the haters. And I would always face them head on, Joshua, because at the end of the day, who is benefiting? And it's my client. It's not the whiny little real estate agent on the other side saying, I can't compete with Terry. We've all dealt with that, and I'm sure a lot of the wonderful top producers on this call have also dealt with that. But the key point I want to make here, guys, is that, and I'm a guy like you, Joshua, I'll share everything I have. There's never an issue. But the bottom line is you must be different, and you must set yourself apart in whether it's your headlines, your compelling reasons, your benefits, your calls to action. If you don't do that, you know what? You might as well work at Costco.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And let's kind of talk about maybe a guarantee that you're offering a guarantee your home's sold in 30 days or I buy it, and you've hit a level of success where you're in a position where you can buy them, and really where you're at today with growing your real estate portfolio, you're probably hoping that you can buy these because you're probably buying them at a discounted rate where it makes a great investment for you. But maybe there's an agent on this call that. I don't want to say maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're not in a position where they can go out there and potentially put themselves in a risk where they'd have to purchase a property. What is maybe a guarantee that you'd recommend for that newer agent or the agent that's struggling, that's trying to separate themselves apart? That's still a compelling guarantee that would still get the phone, the ring, set themselves apart from everybody else, but would be minimal risk to themselves.
Here's one of the greatest things I could share. Here's a zero risk way of becoming a star in an area. You can do a flyer or a direct mail piece. So here's what you do is you identify yourself as an expert. So let's say there's an area of Glendale, Arizona. I know Glendale because I've been there many times watching the Coyotes play. But let's say this. Let's say you're in Glendale, Arizona, and there's an area of Glendale, and the average sale price is what's the average sale price there, Joshua? Now about 150 grand, 200 grand?
Yeah, split about 175, 180.
175, 180. So let's say you pick an area of Glendale, and you're a newer agent, and you like this area, and the list to sale ratio is pretty good. The turnover there is pretty good. Of course, it's all Canadians buying them now. I'm just kidding. But here's what ends up happening is one of the greatest headlines that I've ever used is, what's your home worth in today's market? And simply after that, free home evaluation, no cost or obligation from Glendale's real estate expert, Joshua Smith. Call 780-457-4777. Simple, your URL address on there, and have that in their mailbox, even if you're doing 1,000 homes every 14 days. And I promise you this, if you're going to do that, you're probably going to end up with 15 to 30 evaluations. Of the 15 to 30 evaluations, you're going to list between 4 and 5 houses. And those 4 and 5 houses, chances are you're going to sell 2 or 3 if you price them correctly. That's a whole other topic, is pricing. But at the end of the day, if you're a new agent, that's a headline that works all the time because it's not a very bold one. It's a nice, friendly headline, but here's what it states. Everybody wants to know what their home is worth in today's real estate market. Me as a savvy consumer, if I got it in the mail and I wanted to know and someone's going to offer that free service, I'm going to give them a call. So early in my career, I used several different headlines, but what ultimately ended up happening is I was going on evaluations day in and day out. So even if I was closing 40, 50% of the appointments I went on, there were times I was going on 10 or 11 appointments a day. If I'm closing 40 or 50%, that's 4, 5, 6 listings in a day. So that's a very, very simple headline. What's your home worth in today's real estate market? Then use the words free, no cost, no obligation, home evaluation or market evaluation of your home, your picture on the left-hand side, a call to action, your area code, your phone number. Again, I've developed several, just championship flyers, Joshua. But for somebody that's just getting started, that doesn't have the balls or the money to go out and offer these guarantees or the brokerage support, that's a winner right there.
So when you're doing mailers, really all marketing, one thing that people, need to do is have consistency with it. The biggest killer to success, lack of consistency. When you're doing these type of mailers, you talk about, every 14 days having these line up in their mailbox. What type of consistency do you recommend that they take before it's really going to be effective? Do you need to commit to, hey, if you're going to do this, if you're going to pick a farm area that you want to dominate, having something in their mailbox every 14 days, do you need to plan on a year or 6 months, before you can realize, okay, this is a good market that I'm in? How much time should they give it?
4 months.
4 months, okay.
4 months, Joshua. If you're in their mailbox every 14 days over 4 months, you will see results right away.
Awesome.
Again, because you see, here's what happens, Joshua. Even now with the emergence of the internet, I live in an area where, my home's $2 million, as an example. But the area that I live, Joshua, only one other agent puts flyers in the mailbox, and he's every 60 days. My luxury home division, which is another division, we farm the area every 21 days. So as an example, and again, it doesn't matter, people that are in smaller markets or let's say smaller, sub-centers of a large Phoenix, like an area like Phoenix. So you have all these different little communities that are all around, or if you're around a major city in Canada or the U.S., like in Edmonton where I live, there's a city right next to Edmonton, almost connected, called Sherwood Park, of about 80,000 people. There's another one called St. Albert. Same thing, about 85,000 people. Well, at the end of the day, I could own that whole area, okay? But you see, the challenge, Joshua, is most people, is they suffer from two things. It's called excuse-itis, and the other one is, okay, their finger breaks when they have to write the check. So if you implement any type of a marketing system or flyer program, you need a minimum of 4 months to test it. So you have to have the resolve and the wherewithal over the course of that 4 months to say to yourself, no matter how hard it is, if I didn't get a call, I'm still going to write that check.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then today, the cool thing about direct mail today is with EDDM, it's become, in bulk mail, it's so cheap. I mean, for less than a quarter, you can be in somebody's mailbox. So it's very affordable
Hey,
today.
Josh, for me, it's actually under 15 cents between print and distribution with Canada Post, or in your case, if you use U.S. Postal Service. I'm in their mailbox. It used to cost me under 10 cents years ago, but now it's under 15. Think about this. We list a house, double-end it, make $20K, and they buy a house.
Yeah.
You make another 10. It's $30K. Not a bad investment. So why don't more agents do it? I don't know.
Yeah, and you see the trend now is everyone wants to buy a Zillow lead that costs them $35. You know what I mean? Everybody's kind of given up on the traditional fundamentals that work. And you're right. I mean, I got to say it's probably maybe every 60 days that I see maybe an inconsistent piece from a real estate agent in my mailbox. Nobody's doing it. And no, I love it. So, let's kind of dive in a little bit into acquiring real estate. I know you started acquiring real estate before you got into the real estate business, but you did it from just hard work. It wasn't like you inherited money. It didn't come, it was all from blood, sweat, and tears. You put together this plan where, okay, I'm going to acquire real estate, which sounds like it started with some single family attached properties and eventually started rolling and snowballing into apartment complexes. And it's really allowed. I read a post on yours on Facebook that you built up this empire that allowed you to retire at the age of 42. Not that you have retired, but allowed you to be at that point in your life where you could if you chose to. And in this business too, which is sad in real estate, and I see it all the time of real estate agents that are doing this 30 years, 40 years, they decide to hang up their license. They go hand their keys to their broker, take down their license, pack up their little office in a box, and they walk away with nothing. So let's kind of talk about, how'd you get into it? If you're an agent right now that owns zero assets, that's looking at getting involved, let's kind of talk about your journey of how you go from nothing to owning multi millions of dollars in real estate.
First and foremost, mindset. The mindset of most real estate agents is I can't or shouldn't buy real estate because it's non-ethical. First thing I'm going to say is that is the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard in my life, because at the end of the day, you guys, here's what ultimately happens. You go to a licensing course, and I know here in Canada, you go through a process now. It takes 4 or 5 months to get licensed, or 3 months online. When I got licensed, it was about 2 weeks and a 2-day orientation course, and you were licensed. But they always preached about, you can't buy your clients' homes, you can't do this. Joshua, in 1986, I went to a real estate seminar before I was in real estate, and it was a fellow by the name of REMAX Agent out from Toronto, Ontario, and he was doing a program on how to buy real estate with little or no money down. There was also a guy in the United States, I read all his books, Robert Allen. He was a Mormon in Salt Lake City. And it made a lot of sense to me, and at that time, you could assume mortgages without qualifying. So, I bought a few of them, and I put tenants in, and I went, wait a second, this kind of makes sense. My payment's $630, I'm getting $675 a month. Now, at the end of the day, when the market in the mid-'80s, when I started investing in real estate in 1986, Joshua, you could buy real estate with no money down. But when I got licensed in 91, I had already owned about a dozen properties, and when I got licensed, all the instructors and my managers and brokers were saying, yeah, but Terry, you can't. You got to be really careful. You have to disclose everything. Okay, that's fine. So, but I find that there's this often fear mongering that keeps real estate agents from becoming their own best client. I want to stress this on this call. If you get anything out of this call, become your own best client. So, Joshua, when there was a great deal, I'll give you an example. There was a guy I got called to do a sale. A guy shot himself in a basement of a house by the University of Alberta, okay? It was a great little house on a 50 by 150 lot, and the guy committed suicide in the basement. I bought this property for $72,000, rehabilitated it, and sold it for over $230,000. Now, I remember when I bought it, and I bought it from the estate, there was some verbiage while the real estate agent bought it, and he got a good deal. Darn right I got a good deal, but I stepped up. I paid them what they wanted, and away I went. But a lot of real estate agents would not take that type of action because at the end of the day, they're going to be afraid, this and that. So early in my real estate investing career, I did a lot of flipping, and I did some holding. Come 1995, I made a decision. In order to get very, very wealthy in real estate, no longer could I do any flipping, and I did very well with flipping real estate. We had a cash buy department where I had a lot of people would contact us, you know, because we would offer a quick cash buy on their property, and that's when I started to just decide I wasn't going to sell anything, and I haven't since then. And so the journey just went from buying, you know, smaller up-down duplexes to side-by-side duplexes to fourplexes. And then, of course, my real passion is small apartment buildings, anywhere from 6, 9, 10, 12, 15-unit buildings. I created an affordable housing initiative. You can check it out at ParanichRentals.com. PAHI, the Paranich Affordable Housing Initiative. I created these things, and it's been unbelievable. So what happened, Joshua, you know, my process of starting to hold real estate from the time I was about 28 to my early 40s, I did 20-year AMs, accelerated payments. I was making a lot of money selling real estate, so if there was a little bit of negative cash flow and the market was down a little bit, it didn't really matter because it was like me putting a commission check in the bank if I had to carry something a little bit. But coming to my early 40s, all of a sudden I went, wow, I've got a positive cash flow of well over $100K a month just on rentals. Forget about any commissions. And then, of course, I just started to progress, and then I started a home building company, and now we've started to build apartment buildings. So we created a project marketing division where we did large condominium complexes. So there was a constant evolution. But you see, guys on the call, guys and gals on the call, I was never a real estate agent. From the time I got licensed, even, you know, pardon the pun, listening to these clowns teaching the course, okay? And, you know, pumping their chests out how great they are. But, you know, why are they teaching? Because they can't sell. But guess what happened? I knew right there I did not want to be a real estate agent. I wanted to be a real estate megapreneur, a real estate entrepreneur. And that doesn't mean just selling real estate. You must become your own best client. Because at the end of the day, and Josh said it, at the end of the day, I see them 65, 66, 67, handing in, folding up their office. There's the little going away party. Half the people come, see you later, sayonara. They put all their little dusty old plaques, and they're gone. And they have nothing. You must become your own best client. You deserve it.
So, if you're a new agent, let's say today, or not just an agent, but anybody that's looking to because we have a lot of non-real estate industry related entrepreneurs that are on this call. You know, if you were a brand new investor today that was going out there and buying their first investment property, you know, would you recommend at that point holding off, banking down the down payment to make sure that apartment complex is your first purchase, whether it is maybe even if it is a duplex or a fourplex? Would you start single family detached? You know, what's your personal philosophy on that?
My philosophy, Joshua, as an example, I bought a one unit in a semi-detached, so it was a duplex. I bought one side of a 1,380 square foot unit with a single attached garage, and of course it has another side to it. And the fella needed out. I gave him $30,000, and I assumed his mortgage. I had to qualify for it, but I assumed it. Why did I buy it? Well, number one, it's brand new. It shows about $100 a month in positive cash flow. And right now, I like buying new because a lot of my product is a little bit older, and we've rehabilitated a lot of the product. But to answer your question specifically, Joshua, I learned maybe 15, 18 years ago is to always buy a property that will produce more than one paycheck. Single family home, one paycheck. Condominium, one paycheck. Side-by-side duplex, one property, two paychecks. Fourplex, one property, four paychecks. Threeplex, one property, three paychecks. So a large grouping of properties in my portfolio are duplexes, fourplexes, so side by sides, fourplexes, up and downs. Then I graduated to the small apartment buildings. Why do I like small apartment buildings? They're easy to manage. 10 tenants, you can get great harmony. You want to try to buy these buildings in nicer residential neighborhoods. Listen, you're going to go buy some shitbox apartment building in a gang-infested area, what are you going to get? Okay? So you want to know who your clients are going to be before you acquire the building. And that takes a little bit of a due diligence process, but at the end of the day, my process of buying any type of rental property is and my rental properties, guys, don't get me wrong, I come from a rough part of town, is where I grew up. I own a lot of real estate in that part of town, but these are good people. A lot of them, they dual income, they work hard, they respect each other. There's a lot of schools, a lot of transportation, but 52% of them will rent their whole life.
Yeah, and when you're purchasing, are you purchasing mainly, in your area? Are you buying really anywhere that the deal is? Where are you at in that, and what would you recommend? Like, what would you recommend for somebody to start? Would you recommend that they start kind of in their backyard so they can keep an eye on the property itself?
The law of familiarity, this is my opinion. If you can't see it, touch it, feel it, smell it within about 15 or 20 minutes, chances are you don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Well, and plus you know those areas, it is your backyard. So no, I love it, man. What type of when you're buying these now, and this is just out of curiosity, when you're purchasing these right now for yourself, with financing being so cheap, I mean, are you trying to leverage financing at this point? Are you cashing them out? What are you personally looking for?
The truth, Joshua, throughout my journey as a real estate agent, you have to remember, I rolled where I was making $2.5–3 million a year in income for a long time. And, I was always a guy that was very good with the dollar. If I made $1, I'd always make sure, I'd put away 20, 25 cents. So throughout my journey as a real estate agent, Joshua, there are many, many times I bought buildings that I put 20, 25, in some cases 30% down. Now, my situation was a little unique because I was also a high income earner over that period. So I know a lot of real estate agents, Joshua, across North America that have also been very high income earners, but they've got 10 cars. They've got a collection of 10 cars and 6,000 pairs of shoes and a big lake house and a big house and a lot of debt. Where I was a guy, I was kind of that millionaire next door guy, Joshua, where I didn't go up with anything, so I really respected the value of a dollar. So there were situations where I was able to buy properties early in my career with little or no money down, but now, Joshua, when I buy something, I'm using always my own money, and one of the reasons my wealth is so solid on the real estate investment side is because I've never robbed Peter to pay Paul, so I've never had to refinance anything. And again, I'm just being perfectly honest with you. My real estate investing process, it's not the most duplicatable, Joshua, and the reason is it's because I made a lot of money. But where it is I made a lot of money, and I invested that money in real estate. I didn't invest it in things like exotic cars or, we know what some real estate agents are like. They like to do a lot of, what's the thing? They like to spend a lot of money. They make a lot of money. They have to spend a lot of money. I was never like that, Joshua. I was always a guy that focused on being my own best client. If there was a great deal out there, I would buy it. But specifically, I also created a system where, we have a large database of old owners that have, that own the type of building that I want to buy, and we really work that database hard, and that's usually where we find our best deals.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love that. And it comes back to it's about domination, not competition. And one thing that people don't realize is keeping up with the Joneses is a competition mindset. It's not a domination mindset. So if you got to have the fancy car to make yourself feel good or keep up with people in your circle, you're competing, you're not dominating. And it just sounds like you always had clarity on what you wanted, kept that domination mindset, and did whatever it took to get there, which is paid off huge for you. So let's kind of talk about failures. So every successful entrepreneur I've ever met in my life, they made it big, but they've all experienced failure, and it's really not failure. Failures are our biggest growing and learning experiences that we have in our lives. So what is maybe one or two biggest failures that you can think of throughout this journey that what are your biggest learning experiences, your biggest growth experience that really truly helps shape the person that you are today?
Well, realizing that, drinking my face off, um, and kind of, getting into um, a situation where I became, as my fame grew, Joshua, I started to, I'm not going to use the word hang with the wrong people, because they weren't the wrong people, but they were a lot of people that were also discovered in their own businesses a large or a quick road to success, and I started to neglect things that were important, and so I started to spend too much time in areas like that, and it took me down a slippery path that could have been very, very dangerous. So at the end of the day, I became, I often talk about 10 years of my greatest income earning years. I don't remember a whole lot of it, because between the drinking and partying and, going to all the different seminars and conventions and all the different things that I did, I mean, it was a wonderful ride. Would I change anything? No. But did I learn a ton from it? Yes. And what I learned is that I could have been far more present for my marriage. I didn't have kids at the time, thank God. But even when my son was born, there was a period, the first couple of years, where it took me time to really, shift into what I call being more transparent, more truthful, more responsible, with myself. And, instead of, living a lifestyle that, not only was could have been detrimental to me, but it was that progression. I think it's like a young movie star almost that gets this immediate fame, and then all of a sudden, they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but at the end of the day, I've been there, done it, and I've learned from it, and now I can talk about it, no secrets. Where that's probably one of the biggest failures. And what was hard for me, Josh, was also suffering depression for a long time, where I didn't realize that I was depressed. And there were days that the cloud, what I call it, that cloud, the cloud would roll in, and it was my talent that got me through it. I could just get up and bang through it, but I couldn't understand why I was feeling so shitty, where maybe I had a good day before, and so I used to, drown it out with alcohol, because alcohol is an immediate vacation, makes you feel better. So, I never dealt with some of those things, some of those deep demons that I had, until, I realized I no longer wanted that cloud to continue to have this control over me. So, it took a lot of courage, because I was a guy that felt that, I was invincible, and sometimes, when you feel that you do, God blessed me with a lot of talent, so I was able to do a lot of these things, but I wasn't being truthful with myself or others. And until I looked in the mirror and took full responsibility and accountability for, how I felt, which in course led to some of my actions, did things start to really change for me. But yet during that period, Josh, I made and saved more money than I ever did. So again, it was an interesting journey, but a real learned one.
Yeah, and I love your honesty, with that. We see so many, well, just most entrepreneurs and most people that get into this line of work. We kind of have that hardcore addictive personality. But most people are I don't want to say too much of a cowards or wussies or whatever, to just be open, honest, and transparent and talk about it. It pretty
Mm-hmm.
much exists in most entrepreneurs' lives. And that's one thing that I've always loved about you, and why I started following you is because you were one of the first guys out there that just laid it on the table. Like, look, man, yeah, I've had huge success. I've had these vices. Here's my crap. And if you're dealing with the same thing too, you can relate with that. I think that's why a lot of people are attracted to your content, and you're able to impact so many lives, because we all go through that shit. Everybody at some point in their lives goes through some depression, but society tries to just hide it and keep all that crap stuffed up. And it's just like, hey, when we're driving at a high level, this is just crap that we deal with in life,
It's Joshua, when you talk about challenges, that's the biggest one I had is being able to finally, say I'm no longer going to allow myself to feel this way, and I had to make peace with my past, so it really doesn't ruin my future, and then being able to table some of those demons and say I stopped asking myself why did I do that, or why did I behave that way. I stopped asking why and just said, I'm going to get help. I'm going to figure out, because when you start sometimes asking why, that pity fairy comes on your shoulder, and then you have to deal with that. I just dug deep and said, I'm going to do whatever it takes, to make the change. And hey, believe me, man, it's still a battle, still a daily battle. I'm not perfect, but I've come a real long way, and it's something that what I came to realize is just, it's all about the truth, man. Lay it on the table, and you deal with it, and you surround yourself with great people. And I've been really blessed to have a lot of great people in my life, obviously like yourself as well, Josh. And this is how we grow.
Yeah. Absolutely, brother. So speaking of growth, in the beginning of this interview, you talk a lot about reading a lot of books. Which all leaders are readers. It seems like, like your average CEO today reads 60 some books a year. Your average American reads one book a year. So when people bitch, moan, and whine that all these CEOs are making all this money, they're making 15 million a year, and Joe Schmo is making 40 grand a year, and they're bitching and whining about it. It's like, well, dude, they're doing 60 times the amount of work, right? So, how important is self development to you? I know when you were younger, it was huge, but how important is it to you still today? What does that look like? And also, what you talked about Think and Grow Rich and some books in here, but what is the number one book? If you could only recommend one book to our listeners, what would that book be?
Right now, I'd say Interrupt the Pattern by John Cheplack.
Yeah, I love that book.
That book had profound impact on me. I had already been on a pretty good journey of healing myself, Joshua, but that had a real profound earning. Think and Grow Rich is one that I can just dive into, read 4 or 5 chapters, and it gives me great clarity. A lot of systemic business books sometimes tend to bore me a little bit. One book that has unique reviews being Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, which talks very specifically about, in order to really be an expert at something, you need to be repetitive and do it 10,000 times. I'm kind of a huge believer in that, Joshua, because I know with my behavioral patterns, certainly in a lot of the real estate systems, and having that absolute burning desire to succeed, like just no matter what roadblocks or obstacles will get in the way, I would still, get back to that burning desire, and no matter what, move forward. So that book too has been, very profound. But then, when I talk about John Cheplack's book, Interrupt the Pattern, that was a book that, again, really clarified some things for me, and also took them to a much deeper level. So I would say those two, most specifically, and there are a lot of great books on motivation and that talk about why you may be feeling a certain way, and that offer different procedures and exercises to do. But Joshua, I'd say those are probably the top two for me right now.
Yep, love it, love it. So, let's say if you were just starting out today, like maybe your bank got wiped out, like your bank account got wiped out, whatever. Maybe you're just starting out today, little to no money. However, you had all the knowledge that you have today, so you were able to keep your experiences that you've had. You had the exact knowledge and mindset and experiences that you have right now. But again, little to no money. Like, what are the first 1 to 2 things that you would start immediately doing to rebuild and recreate this empire that you've created?
Are you asking me if I was still in real estate?
Oh, just whatever, man. I mean, if you were starting over, if you just
All
woke
right,
up
easy.
tomorrow, everything was wiped out, and but you had the knowledge you have today, like what are the first 1 or 2 things that you would do to go out there and rebuild whatever you do?
I would simply identify a product or service that everybody needs or wants, and I would make a commitment to become the very best at providing that product or service and being the facilitator for that customer. And within 30 days, I would be well on my way.
Yeah, love it. And that really comes back to that mastery, being the best of the best at whatever craft that you're in. So yeah, I dig that, man. So I know today you've got a lot going on. You've got your new build division, your build apartment complex, you've got your resell team, you've got your boot camp. Really, what's next for you, man? I mean, you got anything kind of on the horizon that you're striving for? What's next for you and your companies?
The truth, Joshua, is I'm really enjoying hanging with my 7 and 3-year-old and coaching hockey and watching my kids grow and learn and develop and being a leader and a mentor for them. And I'm in the process of I brought on Rob Allaby, who's been with me for 12 years, well, almost 12 years. He's taken a 20% stake in the Terry Paranych real estate team, and we've decided that we're going to take the team back to a whole new level. Maybe similar to what you're doing, Joshua. Our first goal is to get it back to 25 team members and try to really help some of these people shape their real estate careers and kind of take it from there with an overall goal of we set kind of an intermediary goal of 25 new team members to add to our existing base, and then eventually get to 50. But Rob is now the team leader. He's the guy that's leading the charge in the mentorship process and the coaching process of that, where I'm kind of coaching the coach, let's say. So I'm working with Rob closely on that process, and then letting him go out and build that for us and take our group to a whole nother level.
Yeah, awesome, man. So one last question before we part ways here. I know you're busy and you got a lot going on. So, do you have a kind of a favorite quote you want to share with the audience that you really kind of live by?
Well, it's one of those things that Joshua, I think a simple quote for me is play to win.
Yeah.
And, I had kind of a 3-pronged quote that was very special to me for a long time. And it talked about working harder than the next guy, but at the end of the day, I just play to win. And as long as I'm winning in my own mind and being the best that I can be and being the best for others that I can be, that's really what it's all about. And I just simplified it. And playing to win, I don't want people to take it the wrong way that, it's about, winning all the time, like, the word winning. But play to win is just a positive connotation for me, whether that's, working out, being with my family, just playing to win, making things right, being present. Like on this call, I'm really enjoying it. Just being present and chatting with you and telling the truth. It feels good. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not, I'm not. What is the word I'm looking for? I find often calls, they get very, very skewed with a bunch of what I call remanufactured information. I'm just tabling it, telling you, what's going on. And so I just kind of take that attitude of playing the win.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother. And again, I greatly honor and appreciate you being here and your time. And one of the reasons that I decided to create this podcast is, it seems like so many people today in our society go out there and they're studying the people who study the people. And I
Yeah.
became passionate recently about about a year ago in my life. About, I'm done studying the people that study the people. I'm going to study the doers, the people that are playing the game, achieving excellence, and that's why I created this podcast so we could study and our listeners could hear it from the people that are actually living amazing, epic lives. They're doing big things that are playing to win. It's like, hey, we only got one shot at this life, man. We got to go out there and win it and give it our all and operate at our full potential. And so I greatly honor and appreciate you being here. I know how busy your time is. And
Anytime, man.
yeah, and again, thank you so much. And to our listeners out there, you guys.
You know what? I got to say this to you.
Okay.
All I want to say, man, is I'm honored. You're a person that comes along in our lifetimes, not very often. Someone who's willing to lay it all out there, tell the truth, and give so much to so many of us. And Joshua, you're a real special person, and keep doing what you're doing, man. You're shaping lives, you're changing lives, you're inspiring so many of us to, just some of the stuff that you're doing, Joshua, that I've been following has inspired me to take my one business to a whole nother level again, and I want to thank you for that, man.
Yeah, and man, I greatly appreciate that, and you've been a huge support to me, and man, I greatly honor our relationship, and if there's everything I can do for you too, man, I really look up to you, consider you a great friend, mentor, and again, thank you and honor you, man, and to our listeners out there, I know I say this kind of in all of our podcasts with this, but listen to these podcasts, if you're not taking action, information without action is really just the start to delusion. You just heard an hour plus amount of amazing content from the best dude on the planet at what he does, who's created this absolute huge empire. So make sure you're taking what he's saying to heart, you're jotting it down, you're taking notes, and go out there and take massive levels of action. Get it done. Go out there and dominate. Life is brief. Go out there and create that epic life that you deserve. So hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Go out there, keep crushing it, and have an awesome, amazing day. Thank you for listening. Do not forget to follow me on Facebook, Joshua Smith GSD, on Twitter, @Joshua Smith GSD, Instagram, Joshua Smith GSD. Make sure to also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Type in Joshua Smith, and I'm the good-looking cat at the top. If you haven't already, go to www.joshuasmithgsd.com and subscribe to our email list. You'll get these interviews sent to you via email, along with my blog, videos, updates, and all that other fun shit. As always, make sure you're taking action. Take all this golden information that you're getting delivered here and make sure you're applying it. Information without implementation is the start of delusion. So implement. Take massive levels of action. Get your hustle on. Get into GSD mode and go dominate. Peace out, guys, and see you next time.